The fluorescent lights of the rusty anchor buzzed like a swarm of angry hornets, casting a sickly glow over the packed bar in Brooklyn's Williamsburg. Laughter erupted from every corner, glasses clinking in a chaotic symphony. But my voice cut through it all like a jagged knife. The worst person alive? Easy, my girlfriend. Alex. She's got this habit of leaving the fridge door open, just to watch the milk curdle out of spite. The crowd howled, slapping the sticky tables. But I didn't see Alex's face crumple across the room because I was too busy soaking up the applause. My cheeks flushed with cheap beer and the thrill of being the funny one for once. By the time the quizmaster's next question droned on, name a betrayal that hits harder than a sucker punch, I'd scanned the bar and found her spot empty. Her leather jacket slung over the back of her stool like a discarded skin. My stomach twisted, a flicker of unease cutting through the buzz. But I shoved it down with another swig of IPA. Alex was tough. She'd laugh it off later. Call me an asshole in that husky voice that always made my knees weak. That's what I told myself as I high-fived my trivia team, Sarah from the bookstore, Jamal the barista with the killer playlists, and Lena, the tattoo artist who'd inked the tiny rainbow flag on my wrist last summer. We were killing it. Top of the leaderboard. And who cared if I'd thrown her under the bus for a laugh? It was just a game. But 2 hours later, as the rain-slick streets of New York swallowed me whole on my walk home to our cramped Bushwick apartment, my phone stayed silent. No snarky text. No voice memo of her fake crying to guilt me. Just the relentless patter of water on my hood, and the gnawing pit in my gut that whispered I'd gone too far. Alex and I had been dancing this edge for months, her long shifts at the ER leaving her bone-tired and distant, my freelance graphic design gigs keeping me holed up with deadlines and doubt. We'd met 2 years ago at a pride march up Fifth Avenue, her in her paramedic uniform, me waving a sign that read "Love wins, even for messy bitches like us." Sparks flew over shared falafel from a street cart. And suddenly she was the anchor in my stormy sea of quarter-life crises. But lately, the waves had been crashing harder. She'd pull away mid-kiss, eyes shadowed like she was carrying ghosts I couldn't see. I fumbled with my keys under the awning, the door creaking open to a darkness that smelled faintly of her lavender shampoo, and takeout lo mein gone cold. Alex, babe, you here? My voice echoed off the exposed brick walls, the fairy lights we'd strung up for our anniversary flickering weakly like they knew the vibe was off. No answer. Just her boots kicked off haphazardly by the couch. One tipped over like it had given up. Panic clawed up my throat. Had she stormed out after my dumb joke? I grabbed my phone. Thumbs flying, hey? Sorry if I was a dick back there. Come home? I owe you pancakes and my undying groveling. Sent. Nothing. I paced the living room, our mismatched thrift store furniture mocking me, the velvet armchair where we'd binge-watched the L-Word reruns, the coffee table scarred from wine glasses toppled in fits of laughter. Or arguments. Lately, more of the latter. By midnight, the what-ifs had turned vicious. What if she'd driven off in a huff, hydroplaning on the turnpike? What if she was at a friend's, spilling how I was the punchline in our own love story? I scrolled her Instagram, last post a blurry shot of the East River at sunset, caption chasing horizons. No stories, no check-ins. Desperation hit like a freight train. I dialed her sister, Mia, who picked up on the third ring with a groggy Marley. It's late, what's up? Her voice sharpened as I babbled about the quiz, the empty bar stool, the radio silence. A beat of static. Then, shit. She's at Mount Sinai. Got a call from her supervisor. Some kinda episode. Go. Now, the cab ride blurred into a nightmare of yellow lights streaking past brownstones and neon signs, the driver's radio crooning some old Springsteen about broken promises. Mount Sinai loomed like a monolith under the storm clouds, its emergency entrance a maw of ambulances and harried faces. I threw a crumpled 20 at the cabbie and bolted inside, the antiseptic sting hitting me like a slap. Nurses in scrubs darted like shadows, clipboards snapping, voices overlapping in a cacophony of codes and concerns. Alex Rivera, I gasped at the triage desk, my heart hammering against my ribs. The woman behind the glass, mid-40s, kind eyes ringed with exhaustion, tapped her screen. Room 14. Family only. But. Go on. She asked for you. Room 14 was a sterile box. Beeping monitors casting blue ghosts on the walls. The air thick with the metallic tang of fear. And there she was, curled on the bed like a wounded animal, her knees drawn up, face buried in her hands. Sobs racked her frame, raw and guttural, the kind that hollowed you out. The quiz sheet, that fucking quiz sheet, lay crumpled in her lap, ink smudged from tears. She didn't look up as I stumbled in, just whispered, "You meant it, didn't you? The worst." "God, Marley, why'd you have to say it tonight?" I froze in the doorway, the weight of my words crashing down like the rain outside. Alex. My fierce, unflinching Alex, who patched up gunshot wounds and held my hand through panic attacks. Reduced to this. "Babe, no." My voice cracked, legs giving way as I dropped to my knees beside the bed, reaching for her hand. It was cold, trembling, for tape pulling at her skin. That's when I saw the chart clipped to the rail. Rivera. Acute exacerbation. Possible lupus flare. Monitor for renal involvement. Lupus? The word punched the air from my lungs. She'd never said a thing. Not once. Alex. What the hell is this? I snatched the chart, scanning the jargon: fatigue, joint pain, photosensitivity, memories flooding back like tidal waves. The way she'd winced at sunlight during our Central Park picnics, blamed it on hangovers, the endless naps after shifts, the bruises she'd laughed off as clumsy paramedic shit, betrayal twisted in my chest. But not at her, at myself, for being too wrapped up in my own insecurities to notice the war she was fighting alone. She lifted her head then, eyes red-rimmed and ancient in her 30-year-old face, the gray streaks in her hair suddenly stark under the harsh lights. "I didn't want to burden you. We've been good. Marley, finally good after all the bullshit. The exes, the jobs, the are we even compatible fights. Why drag you into this? It's chronic. Unpredictable. One day I'm fine. The next. This." She gestured weakly at the monitors, the needle in her vein. "Tonight. After your joke, God. Shouldn't have hit like that. But it did. Like everything I've been hiding just cracked open. I blacked out on the subway home. Woke up here with some doc poking at me, asking about family history, guilt clawed deeper, my throat closing around apologies that felt too small. I was an idiot. A spotlight-hungry idiot. That quiz. It was nothing. You're everything. I climbed onto the bed, careful of the wires, pulling her into my arms. She melted against me, sobs muffled in my hoodie, her body a fragile map of secrets I'd failed to read. We stayed like that as the night shift hummed outside, the city that never sleeps a distant roar. But in that room, time fractured, past hurts bleeding into present fears, our love a tether straining against the pull of unspoken truths. Dawn crept in through the blinds, painting stripes of gold across the linoleum. The on-call rheumatologist, Dr. Patel, a no-nonsense woman with a hijab pinned neatly and a clipboard full of hope, breezed in at 6 a.m. Her rounds a whirlwind of questions and reassurances. Ms. Rivera, your labs are stabilizing. We'll adjust the immunosuppressants, get you on a better regimen. But lifestyle stress management, sun protection, support system. Her eyes flicked to me, praising. That last one's key. Lupus doesn't fight fair. But neither does love. Right. Alex managed a watery laugh, squeezing my hand. Yeah. She's a scrapper. We both were. Forged in the fire of New York's relentless grind. Me, a small-town transplant from Ohio chasing pixels and dreams. Her, a first-gen Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx who'd clawed her way through med school on scholarships and sheer grit. Our worlds had collided in the best way. But cracks had formed. My jealousy over her late nights with colleagues, harmless. I knew. But doubt whispered otherwise. Her withdrawal when pain flared. Building walls I mistook for indifference. Discharge papers signed by noon. And we cabbed it back to Bushwick. The skyline a glittering apology under clearing skies. The apartment felt smaller, more sacred, as I helped her inside, propping pillows on the couch like a nest. Rest, I ordered. Brewing ginger tea, her go-to for nausea, and firing up Fleabag on the TV. The one show that could coax her smile even on the worst days. She watched me move, her gaze soft but searching. Marley, we gotta talk about this. All of it. No more hiding. I sank beside her, lacing our fingers. You first. Why lupus? How long? The story spilled out in fits and starts. Diagnosis at 25. Post-breakup from her toxic college girlfriend who'd called her fragile cargo. Flares that sidelined her from runs along the Hudson. Forced her to fake energy at barbecues with me as kids. I thought if I powered through, it'd stay my demon. Not ours. Tears welled again. But this time, anger flickered too. And you calling me the worst? In front of everyone? It wasn't just the joke. Felt like you saw me. Really saw me. And still chose to wound. Her words landed like shrapnel, slicing open my defenses. I'd always prided myself on being the fun one. The quick wit in a relationship shadowed by her intensity. But that night, in the bar's haze, I'd weaponized our intimacy for cheap laughs, betraying the trust we'd built brick by sarcastic brick. I was scared, I admitted. Voice small. Scared we're drifting. You work those god-awful hours. Come home wrecked. And I fill the silence with noise. Jokes. Anything but asking if you're okay. Vulnerability hung between us, thick as the steam from her mug. For the first time, I saw us not as a rom-com montage, but as two women fumbling through the mess of loving someone broken. Just like me. That afternoon blurred into a tentative peace, takeout from the halal cart on the corner. Her head in my lap as I sketched logos on my tablet. The scratch of stylus a soothing rhythm. But as evening fell, shadows lengthened. My phone buzzed, Sarah. Texting about trivia rematch. Then a follow-up, heard about Alex. You okay? Bar's asking. Gossip traveled faster than light in our circle. And dread pooled in my belly. What if they pitted us now? What if our private storm became public spectacle? Alex sensed my tension, propping up on an elbow with a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes. Let him talk. We're the lesbians who almost imploded over a pub quiz. Headline material. But humor couldn't mask the fracture. That night, as she slept fitfully under a quilt piece from her abuela's old saris, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Betrayal echoed in loops, not just mine, but hers, for shielding me from the truth like I was some delicate bloom. Love wasn't a shield, it was a mirror, reflecting all the ugly edges we'd sanded down together. Or tried to. The next week unfolded like a tightrope walk over the East River. Cleared my schedule, trading deadlines for doctor's appointments and pharmacy runs, the sterile aisles of CVS a new battlefield. Alex rallied with the stubborn grace of someone who'd stared down worse, prednisone kicking in, joints loosening enough for tentative walks to the bodega for plantains and gossip with Mr. Ruiz. Mia. You two fight like my cats. He'd chuckle, bagging her favorites. But they always curl up together at night. His words stuck. A folksy humanism that grounded me amid the chaos. Yet undercurrents swirled. Mia dropped by unannounced one Tuesday, her toddler in tow, arms laden with Tupperware of Erazkan gandals. You look like shit, Mar, she said bluntly, settling into the kitchen while little Sophia smeared yogurt on the table. Alex shot her a glare, but Mia plowed on. Heard the hospital story from the Barfly Network. And the lupus? Sis. Why the secrecy? We're family. Alex's jaw tightened, the familiar Rivera fire sparking. Because it's my body. Mia. My mess. Marley's got enough on her plate without playing nurse. I busied myself with Sophia's curls, twisting them into tiny buns. But the barb stung. Was that how she saw me, another burden? The air thickened, sisterly barbs flying until Mia softened, pulling Alex into a hug that smelled of baby powder and home. We're Riveras. We carry heavy. But not alone. As she left, a wake of domestic normalcy trailing, Alex turned to me with haunted eyes. She's right. I pushed you away before you could even reach. That confession cracked something in me. Tears hot on my cheeks. We collapsed onto the rug, a tangle of limbs and regrets, her lips brushing my temple. I love you, Marley. The messy, mouthy parts too. But I need you to fight for us, for me, not just laugh it off. Her vulnerability was a gift, wrapped in the pain of what is. We made promises then. Whispered vows under the hum of the AC. Weekly check-ins. No more solo battles. Therapy if the flares brought mental tempests. Felt raw. Real, the kind of love that didn't gloss over the grit. But New York had other plans. That indifferent beast of concrete and ambition. My inbox exploded mid-month with an email from my dream client, a Brooklyn-based queer mag needing cover art for their anniversary issue. Marley, your portfolio screams us, the editor gushed. Think bold. Emotional. Capture that electric tension of queer joy amid the storm. Elation surged. But so did terror. Deadlines loomed like thunderheads. And with Alex's follow-up scans scheduled, how could I vanish into my studio? I confided in Lena over coffee at her tattoo parlor. The buzz of needles a white noise confessional. Take it, she urged, wiping ink from her brow. Her own arms a canvas of reclaimed narratives. Ex's names crossed out. Phoenixes rising from ashes. But tell her. No secrets. Remember, that's how we burn. Wise words from the woman who'd inked half the dyke bars in the borough. Emboldened, I pitched it to Alex that night over veggie stir-fry. Her fork pausing mid-air. Go for it. I'll be fine, Patel says the new meds are gold. Relief washed over me. But doubt lingered in her averted gaze. Was she masking again? Playing strong for my sake? The project consumed me like wildfire. Days bled into nights. My drafting table a war zone of sketches, women entwined against stormy skies. Hands clasped over fractured cityscapes. Alex hovered at the edges, bringing coffee laced with her sly grins. But tension simmered. One evening, I snapped at her for rearranging my pencils. Babe, I need chaos to create. And the hurt in her eyes was an echo of that hospital sob. Sorry, I muttered, pulling her close. I'm scared I'll fuck this up. And us. She cupped my face, thumbs tracing my jaw. We're already fucked up. Perfectly so. We tumbled into bed. Bodies rediscovering the language of forgiveness, slow, deliberate touches mapping scars both seen and unseen. Her skin, warm under my palms, whispered of resilience, my breaths, ragged against her neck, of devotion renewed. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets scented with us, she murmured, remember our first fight? Over that shitty vegan place in the village. You stormed out, but came back with tacos and a sonnet scribbled on a napkin. I laughed. The memory a bomb. Shakespearean groveling. My specialty. But as her breathing evened into sleep, my mind raced to darker shores. What if the lupus won around? What if my ambition pulled me under? Betrayal loomed not as malice, but as neglect, the slow poison of priorities misaligned. Climax brewed on a crisp October Friday, the kind where leaves crunch underfoot like brittle promises. I'd nailed a rough draft for the mag, colors popping like fireworks, and celebrated with Jamal at the Rusty Anchor Sans quiz. Thank God. Beers flowed. Stories swapped about hookups gone wrong. The bar's jukebox crooning KD. Lang's achy ballads. My phone lit up midway, Alex. Jar again. Minor flare. Don't freak. Pick me up? Heart in my throat. I bolted, hailing a cab through the village's throng. The editor's praise echoing hollowly. Mount Sinai again. That familiar purgatory. Room 14 waited like an old foe. Alex perched on the bed in scrubs, pale but composed, chatting with a young intern about shift horror stories. Relief hit. Then suspicion, her smile too bright, voice too steady. What triggered it? I asked as the intern slipped out, sinking into the vinyl chair. She shrugged, fiddling with her bracelet, a silver chain with our initials intertwined. Stress. Maybe. Or the full moon bullshit. I'm good now. But her chart told tales. Patient reports increased fatigue. Reluctance to disclose emotional stressors. I confronted her gently. Hand on hers. Alex. Talk to me. Is it the meds? Or us? Her facade cracked. Tears spilling. It's everything. You. Buried in work, deservedly. Babe. That art's fire. But I feel like the side character in your story. And tonight, I scrolled your sketches, saw the passion, and wondered if I'm holding you back. The room spun. Monitors beeping accusation. Betrayal reversed, her doubt mirroring my old insecurities. A vicious cycle. You're the muse. Idiot. Every line. Every shade, it's you in there. Words tumbled. Frantic. How her strength fueled my boldness. Her laugh the spark in my palate. But she shook her head. Voice breaking. Then why does it hurt so much? Like I'm fading. And you're blooming without me. Climax erupted then. Raw and unscripted. I stood, pacing the confines. Anger flaring not at her, but the disease, the distance, the quiz that started this unraveling. Because I didn't see. I called you the worst because I was blind to your battles. Too busy performing. But you're not fading, you're the goddamn sun. She reached for me, pulling me down. Our foreheads touching in a sacred collision. Sobs mingled. Confessions pouring. Her fear of dependency. My terror of loss. In that fluorescent limbo, we stripped bare lovers. Fighters. Humans clawing for grace. Dear. Patel arrived post-storm, prescribing not just pills but counseling. Her humanism a quiet anchor. Relationships are marathons. Ladies. Pace yourselves. We nodded. Bent but seen. The air lighter with truths aired. Back home. Under a harvest moon filtering through our fire escape. We rebuilt. I scaled back the project. Carving space for sunset strolls along the promenade. Her hand in mine as fairies horned in the distance. Therapy sessions in a cozy midtown office unpacked the layers, her immigrant family stoicism. My Midwestern suck-it-up roots. Laughter crept back. Tentative then full-throated. Over burnt pancakes and Golden Girls marathons. Betrayal's scar faded to a reminder. Love demands vigilance. Not perfection. Winter descended on the city like a velvet shroud, blanketing rooftops in snow and our hearts in cautious hope. Holiday lights twinkled from brownstones, a festive camouflage for the fractures we'd mended. Alex's flares ebbed with the new regimen, her energy returning in waves, enough for ice skating at Bryant Park, where we'd spin clumsy circles, her gloved hand warm in mine, laughter echoing off the rink's barriers. Remember our first winter? She teased, breath fogging the air. You face-planted so hard. I thought you'd break the ice. I'd pull her close, nuzzling her scarf. Worth it for the kiss after. But healing wasn't linear. Shadows lingered. One blustery night in December, as we trimmed our Charlie Brown tree lopsided, adorned with ornaments from Pride swag bags and her abuela's heirloom glass stars, the doorbell buzzed like an ill omen. Me again. This time with red-rimmed eyes and a bottle of rum. It's Tia Rosa, she blurted, collapsing onto the couch. Stage 3. Breast cancer. She asked for Alex. The news landed like a nor'easter. Winds howling outside as grief settled indoors. Alex went still, the star in her hand glinting like a fallen constellation. Tia Rosa, the matriarch who'd taught her to salsa in the kitchen, defended her coming out at family Easter with a fierce menina yes perfecta, now frail in a queen's hospice. We drove through the slush-choked streets, my knuckles white on the wheel, Alex's silent shotgun, staring at the wiper's rhythm like it held life's cruel code. The hospice smelled of wilted poinsettias and antiseptic mercy, rooms hushed with the soft beep of monitors. Tia Rosa lay small in her bed, chemo's toll etching lines on her once vibrant face. But her eyes lit when Alex entered. Me soul, she whispered, beckoning with bird-bone fingers. They spoke in rapid Spanglish, tears tracing paths down weathered cheeks, stories of girlhood mischief and unspoken pains. I hovered in the doorway, Marley the outsider, until Tia beckoned me to. You, she said, voice a rasp of wisdom. Keep her dancing. Life's a bolero fast. Fear. full of turns. That visit cracked Alex wide open. Back in the car, she shattered, sobs racking as Manhattan's lights blurred past. She's dying. March. And I hid my own shit from her too. Thought I was strong. I pulled over on a side street near the Williamsburg Bridge, holding her as the river churned below, a dark mirror to our turmoil. Strength isn't silence. Sharing the weight. In that stolen moment, amid exhaust fumes and distant sirens, our love deepened, roots intertwining against the frost. Christmas came subdued, a quiet rebellion against loss. We hosted Mia and Sophia, the apartment aglow with candles and empanadas, little hands sticky with frosting as we decorated gingerbread. Laughter mingled with sniffles, toasts raised to absent lights. To Tia, Alex said, clinking her mug to mine. And to us still standing, the humanism of it all, the messy grace of family, chosen in blood, wove through the evening like tinsel, fragile yet festive. New Year's Eve dawned crisp, the city pulsing with promise. My magazine cover dropped that week, bold lines of two women silhouetted against a tempest, hands linked in defiant embrace. Reviews poured in, raw, resonant, a queer anthem for the fight within. Alex framed the issue on our mantle, her pride a quiet fire. You captured us, she said, tracing the ink with reverence. But success stirred old ghosts. An offer followed from a LA firm, 6 figures, sun-soaked beaches, a fresh start. Temptation whispered, escape the winters, the flares, the grind. I agonized in silence at first, betraying our pact, until a flare hit Alex hard on New Year's Day, fever spiking, joints locking like rusted hinges. Back to Mount Sinai. Room 14, our reluctant haunt. As she shivered under blankets, for dripping steroids, I confessed over vending machine coffee. They want me in California. Big league. Her face paled further. But not with surprise, with sorrow. And you? What do you want? The question hung. A precipice. Climax revisited. Not in shouts but whispers. You, I said simply, climbing beside her, our breaths sinking to the monitor's lullaby. Here. With the shitty subways in your burnt toast. The rest. It's noise. Tears tracked her temples. But a smile broke through. Small and sure. Then stay. Build with me. We sealed it with a kiss. Saline tanged and sacred. The city fireworks distant booms outside. Spring unfurled like a hesitant bloom. Cherry blossoms dusting the high line as we walked it hand in hand. Therapy evolved us, boundaries drawn. Dreams aligned. I launched a side hustle. Queer art workshops in community centers. Her paramedic tales inspiring character sketches. Tia Rosa passed in April. A send-off of merengue and tears under a Brooklyn sky heavy with rain. At the graveside, Alex leaned on me, whispering, she'd like you. The fighter. I squeezed her waist. She made one. Summer simmered in. Pride marching vibrant through Midtown. Rainbows reclaiming streets we first kissed on. We volunteered at the float for lupus awareness. Alex in a warrior within tea. Me snapping pics that captured her glow. No quizzes. No hospitals, just us. Swaying to Anderson.Poc under confetti storms. Bodies pressed in the throng. Worst person alive? She teased later. Over rooftop rows. A grin. Pulling her onto my lap. Nah. Best plot twist. Our story didn't end in grand gestures, but in the quiet revolutions, the check-ins over coffee, the grace in flares, the choice to stay amid the storm. Betrayal's echo faded to a scar, a testament to love's tenacity. In America's beating heart, where dreams clashed and mended, Marley and Alex learned, the truest romance isn't flawless, it's fiercely, humanly, ours. As autumn leaves turned again, we stood on our fire escape, city lights winking below like shared secrets. Here's to more quizzes, Alex murmured, her head on my shoulder. But next time, I call you the worst. Laughter bubbled up, free and full, binding us tighter. In the end, it wasn't happily ever after, it was better, wholly, humanly, enduring.